Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and you may have seen me on TV talking about the world's #1 expandable garden hose. Well, the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is here, and it's a total game changer. Old-fashioned hoses get kinks and creases at the spigot, but the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow and freedom to water with ease all around your home. When you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose shrinks back down to pocket size for effortless handling and tidy storage. Plus, your super light and ultra-durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. What could be better than that? I'll tell you what, an exciting radio-exclusive offer just for you. For a limited time, you can get a free Pocket Pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just text WATER to 64,000. That's WATER to 64,000 for your 2 free gifts with purchase. WATER to 64,000.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Pocket Hose. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at pockethose.com/terms.
Stop right there. Yeah, you. If you like all things entertainment, current events, or Hollywood, then look no further. Creator to Creators, hosted by director Meosha of Horror Noir, interviews filmmakers and creatives from around the world. Join in on the fun, guest celebrities, and informative information to have as a creator. Hit subscribe and stay connected to Creator to Creators.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Creator to Creators today. Today we have a special guest.
Vernon Coleman.
Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you. I always say, like, every guest that I introduce, I always like to start from the beginning, like the foundation, quote unquote. Like, what was your childhood like? And kind of how did you find your way into the love for writing and journalism?
Right. I guess it's kind of a long story. My childhood was pretty normal, for the most part. I'm an 80s baby, so I grew up listening to a lot of, watching a lot of MTV, BET, Nickelodeon, Disney. Like, I was into all that, we didn't have YouTube back then, so it was a lot of TV watching and playing outside, basically.
Right.
So I grew up in Virginia.
Nice.
And I got into writing, I could say around middle school, not like seriously, but knowing that I kind of had a love for it. My older cousin named Leah, she would had me reading and watching stuff that I was way too young to be watching. So I was like, reading Stephen King books when I was in middle school and going to see movies and stuff like that, a lot of horror movies and stuff like that. So that's how I kind of got into that. But I've always been into music, music. I had a friend named it's going to be a lot of shout outs in here.
I love it. No, this is good. We have all the time. We're good.
Because I have a lot of people that really like molded, how I got here. I don't know if they know it or not, but I had a friend named Andrew. He had a lot of, this is before my parents were letting me get the explicit,
right.
He was my guy who had every CD that this was before CDs, tapes. Every tape that ever came out. Either he got it from the store or he was dubbing them. So I would go over his house and borrow his tape. So I was really into music, kind of young, all kinds of stuff. So in Virginia, we're kind of like the bottom of the North, but the top of the South. So we get kind of vibes from everybody, New York, down South. So we get music from everywhere. So
who was one of your biggest music influences at that time? Like, did you okay, that I like that one? Or
at that time, as far as an artist?
Yeah, sure. Because that's a lot of music coming out during that time, right? Is that right?
It was
hip hop.
I was in a lot of stuff though. That's the thing. I'm into, like I said, I used to watch a lot of MTV.
Yeah.
Too. So I was into listening to a lot of rock music. Not that I was going to the store and buying it, but I was hearing it. So you know what I'm saying? If it was top 40, I probably knew it. You know what I'm saying? So I was into soul. My parents had a record player. They had a lot of soul music full of records. So I would play a lot of their music. So I'm into a lot of old 70s music and stuff like that. Obviously, like I said, I'm an 80s baby. So I'm into a lot of the stuff that came out in the 80s and stuff like that. So
it's a great era. Okay.
Right. So it was kind of a lot of artists. It wasn't just rap music. You know what I'm saying? I write for hip hop publication, but I'm honestly into a lot of music.
Nice. That's awesome.
Right. So when I guess I would say, like I said, my cousin had me kind of into reading a lot. So I read a lot when I was younger.
Nice.
And then when I moved from Richmond to Hampton, Virginia, when I was in 9th grade, and I I lived across the street from a store called Winn-Dixie, and I used to go in there and like steal every magazine, like XXL, Source, Complex, Honey, even
Right.
every urban
Wow.
magazine that came out at that time. It was like leaving the store under my shirt.
Wow.
So I had like a huge collection of magazines. I was super into magazines. Yeah, just reading them, knowing the people who wrote the stories. And like I said, obviously I was into music. So I had a cousin also named Michael who had a lot of music, every CD you can think of. Like,
wow.
So I would go stay with him, my uncle and my cousins during this in Florida. They lived in Florida during the summer, so I would get a lot of music from them. So, but I got, like I said, that's how I really got into magazines. And at the same time, one funny story, like I said, I moved to Hampton when I was in 9th grade. In the English, like shortly after I moved there in English class, we had to write a book report. I wrote my book report on this Tupac autobiography called Rebel for the Hell of It. And I wrote the autobiography, I wrote the book report, and I put everything into it. I thought I did great on it. I thought this was like super great. So I turned it in, and when I get it back, and it's an F on it.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Whoa.
And it's an F on it, right? So I go to the teacher, and I'm like, what's up with this F on this paper? And she's like, you didn't write that. I'm like, what? She's like, no, that's it's too good. Like you didn't write it. So I literally had to go down to the office with this teacher to call my mother and have my mother confirm that I wrote this book report.
Wow.
So she ended up giving me an A, an A+ on the book report, and she suggested that I get into a creative writing class.
That's great. That's great.
So I ended up getting into a creative writing class in high school. I was also on the school paper in high school.
Nice.
So I was even kind of getting, the balls were rolling into that. It's even in high school.
That's awesome.
And so I went to college at Hampton University, and I majored in print journalism. So one of my, I know the story is getting kind of long. But
no, this is great. This is great. I love it.
Okay, so one of my, we had to, I wasn't on the school paper or anything. I was too busy trying to graduate to do like extracurricular stuff. So.
Right.
But one of the things, we had to have clips, which is articles. In order to graduate, you had to have an internship, and you have to have a certain amount of clips, which is articles that you've gotten printed, that you've written and gotten printed in some publication. So my senior year, I was kind of, like I said, I wasn't on the paper, so I was kind of freelancing for them a little bit. So I had a few clips, but it was a store that me and my friend used to frequent. And it was a cool little quirky store. They had like a lot of little natural products. They sold sandwiches and stuff like that. So I thought it would be a cool idea to write a story on them. So I kind of lied to the lady that owned the store, and I went to her and I was like, hey, I freelance for the local newspaper, and I like to, do a story on your store.
Right. So
she was like, great. Yeah, that's cool. So I interviewed her. I wrote the story. Nice. And then I went to the newspaper and was like, hey, I wrote this story on this cool little store. And they were like, cool, they bought it. You know what I'm saying? Wow. They bought it. And
nice.
I made that was my first check I made for writing. They paid me $50. And that was
how old were you at this point?
This is my senior year in college.
Wow. That's awesome. Yeah, did that kind of give you the confidence of like, okay, this is cool. Like,
yeah, it did. Especially like having to go through all the footwork myself. You know
right.
what I'm saying? And I'm really like not an introvert kind of person. So for me to go out and reach out to this lady, and then it was kind of stepping out of my shell a little bit. But I thought that was really dope because I had like a story like printed in the actual newspaper. You know what I'm saying?
Awesome.
Like a lot of people were getting stories printed in the school paper and doing stuff like that. But I had a story printed in the actual city, local paper. So I thought that was pretty dope.
That's incredible. And I'm like, I love what you said about stepping out of your comfort zone. I think creatively a lot of things happen when we step out, and get like that when we're not comfortable. So that's absolutely amazing that you did that. Were your parents super supportive of like just your anything you did or your career venture?
Definitely. My
That's
whole
great.
life.
That's
Definitely.
awesome. I think it's important to have that support system, and not, I mean, not saying you can't, you still couldn't have done it, but I think it's just something when you have that support system, it's like, you can do it, keep going. But what did you find that the strength within you to continue, even like, I'm sure that world is kind of competitive, or I don't know, I'm not really sure how that is, but would you say, is it?
Pretty much. I mean, and this kind of rolls into like how the story actually.
Okay.
So I graduated. I mean, well, kind of rewind. In my senior year, this is around the same time I had a class that was like a magazine writing class. Like most of the stuff, like I said, I majored in print journalism, and most of the stuff is like catered towards newspapers.
Nice.
They want you to write for a newspaper, so it's kind of catered to that. But my final semester of my senior year, I took a class it was for magazine writing. It was specifically for magazine writing. And like I said, by that point, I was into magazines. I knew I wanted to write for magazines.
Awesome.
I did not want to write for newspapers.
Right.
So I saw that class and I was like, oh my God, I got to get in this class. So I got in this class. It was taught by a lady named Shonda Buchanan. She's a author as well. You might
want to sounds so familiar, actually.
She's been out in LA, I think, for a while. She's written a few books. You might want to look into her too. She's
awesome.
I took that class, like I said, magazine writing, and then I was just like totally hooked. Like I'm going to write for magazines. I don't want to write for a newspaper. That was kind of boring to me. Like,
it was boring. Newspapers are boring versus magazines are like more exciting.
Right. And I wanted to talk about, music. Like I said, at the same time, I'm really into music.
Yeah.
So I was like, I want to write for one of these music magazines.
Nice.
So that was another thing that kind of put the battery in my back, taking that class. So, but when I graduated, like I said, I lived in Hampton, Virginia. So it's not really anything industry or magazine wise in Hampton, Virginia. So,
right.
But I was still trying to get into the industry kind of remotely. I graduated from college in 2005.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, I graduated, I don't have a job. I'm reaching out to these magazines, like sending out query letters, trying to get freelance work. So I'm reaching out to magazines, not really getting any huge responses.
Right.
I reached out to this basketball magazine called Dime. So like I said, I lived in Richmond before I moved to Hampton, and a lot of my friends played basketball.
Nice.
So I knew a lot of people in the basketball arena in that area who were like big time. Some of them have made it to college. Some of them have, made it to the professional ranks.
Nice.
So I reached out to it was kind of like using what you have, right?
Absolutely.
So I reached out to this magazine. I was like, hey, I pitched a story on a friend of mine, an actual close friend of mine who played basketball in college at the time. And his team had done really well. So I reached out to them and I pitched the story to them. And they said, it's a possibility we'll do this story. We're not sure on this story, but do you know this guy? Mm. They asked me, did I know another guy who was actually friends with my friend? His name is Tyrone Sally. They asked me, did I know another guy named Jonathan Hargett, who was friends, like I said, who was friends with that guy. So I was like, yeah, I definitely know. I can reach out to my friend and get in touch. So I ended up reaching out to my friend, getting in touch with him. And I ended up writing 2 articles.
Nice.
The article on my friend and the article on the guy they requested. So I ended up, like I said, I wrote 2 articles with them. And I ended up writing a few more articles with them. So that was my kind of introduction into the magazine game, but it was through sports.
Nice. What were some of the, when you're writing an article, or maybe specifically this one, the one you were for the sports, what's your approach, your process when you're getting ready to write an article?
It's a lot of research.
Okay.
You got to research your subject. You got to, that's pretty much it. Like you got to do a lot of digging. find interviews that they've done before. It's kind of hard if they haven't done any interviews, but it's kind of
Right.
better because you get everything is fresh. But yeah, that's pretty much for the most part. Like, especially for these sports, it's a little different from music and sports, but it's still basically research, doing a lot of research on your subject.
I see. Is it like with music, it's if depending on if they're like established and they have music out there, right? With, like you said, it's much easier than, to like write something about it. But who were some, like, I mean, I guess in the music world, some of your favorite people to like write about that you were like, oh man, I get to write about this person. Oh, that's dope. I'm excited.
Yeah, that was kind of weird because when you're young, you never think, you're going to be sitting in a room with some of these people that you've been listening to their music for years. That's kind of cool. I don't get like super duper excited. Like, I guess I kind of did at first, first meeting the people, but once you do it for a while, it's kind of like, it's cool. But Lil Wayne was a person that I interviewed in like 2007 when he was like kind of at the height of his powers, like, and that was a great interview. Because, like I said, I've been listening to his music since I was a kid. Like, me and him are the same age pretty much. So
oh wow,
I've been listening to his music for a while. So to actually interview him, and it was for a cover story too. So to actually interview him and spend time with him, that was kind of crazy.
What did you learn about him that you didn't know?
Okay, so it was kind of crazy because I thought he was gonna be an asshole to keep it like he was.
Nice.
He was really cool. Like, once he found out who I was, like, at first we were at a photo shoot. He was just kind of looking around. He was there with his entourage and they were kind of taking pictures and stuff like that. And I was kind of like the only odd man in the room, you know what I'm saying? So he was kind of just like, who, once he found out that I was there to do the interview, everything was cool. So,
okay.
But yeah, it was super dope. He was, I don't know how else to explain it. He was like super outgoing.
That's good.
Even though he was doing a lot of drugs.
I think that's a lot in that industry. I mean, I got to do a lot of music before I got into film, and it's interesting. I guess it depends on, like, honestly, I think even rock stars, I got to do a Billy Idol shoot, and it just certain people, you're just like, I guess it comes with the lifestyle for some people, it's like you're on 10 every day, right? I can't imagine that life, but very interesting. I will say, on the Lil Wayne, I did discover that he was like really smart guy until he got into music, which I was really surprised. I was like, wow, this guy's really educated. And
yeah, this is around the time that he was breaking out his guitar. So he was in there playing the guitar and he was in there dancing and he was just like super cool. It wasn't like I expected to go in there and basically deal with a diva pretty much. You know what I'm saying? Deal with somebody who was just, I'm above everybody in here and that. But no, he was super cool. It was really surprising.
Have you had some interviews that that were not so pleasant, or was it hard to kind of like, fish for questions and elaborate on certain things for certain an interview that you were like,
definitely.
Oh God.
I interviewed Lil Durk for one of his first interviews, and this was he's fresh into the industry, so he didn't want to answer. I think I got like one sentence for either one word or one sentence for like every question I asked him. So that was really like pulling teeth. I really wanted to just stop the interview and be like, look, I'm not the FBI. I work for a magazine. I'm not trying to get you locked up or anything. I'm just trying to ask you some questions so I can write this article. But no, that was one that was definitely tough. I'm sure he's better now, but like I said, that was one of his first interviews. So he was like super not really one to talk.
right. And I did see the newest one that I think it was. What was that? The one with 2 Chainz? Is that the one that I saw on your?
That was
that was awesome.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah. That was a digital cover story that we did at XXL.
That's awesome.
2 Chainz, and we went out to his nail shop out in Atlanta. and interviewed him and talked about his businesses and stuff like that. So yeah, that was definitely a cool experience. That was like my second time interviewing him. Like I interviewed him like 10 years ago. It was funny. It was almost like 10 years ago to the date when I interviewed him the first time. It was right after he went solo when I interviewed him. I did a featured story on him for XXL. So it was kind of like full circle interviewing him now, like 10 years later, now that he's like this big superstar.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. 10 years ago to what he is now. It's incredible. So you're super talented. You have, you're into the horror genre, and I saw that trailer. Dude, tell me about, like, you were into it, Stephen King and all that, but what draws you into that genre as what makes it interesting? Why do you find it interesting?
I like being scared. I know that sounds weird, but
no,
it's like I compare it to like sometimes I try to get my friends to watch horror movies, and they're like, I'm not into it. And then somebody tried to get me to ride a roller coaster, and I'm not into roller coasters at all. So I'm just like, that's just not my form of entertainment. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't doing that. That doesn't make me entertained. Like but being scared, watching a movie definitely makes me entertained. Like I really like being scared. That I really like that feeling. Just watching stuff and being scared. I don't know if that makes me weird, but
no, I love that. I feel the same. Do you think like when you venture into that genre, because I think we briefly spoke about you wanted to get into possibly making a horror project. Would you say in that project that you want to talk about or show, are you a kind of person that want to like tackle topics that have to do with the culture, or you just more like entertainment?
No, definitely. Like the book I'm working on I'm finished writing the book. I'm trying to working on getting it put out. It's called Consumption.
Nice.
So it's it's kind of it's a zombie novel, but it's definitely, first of all the characters are Black.
Right.
Not every single one of them, but it's that's
awesome.
Right. I definitely want to put that out there. Like I definitely like that in recent years we've been getting more into the genre and putting ourselves out there and getting out there into the genre. But it definitely touches on racism, consumerism, capitalism. So it touches on all those things. It's kind of like the name is Consumption, so it's kind of a play on all of that. But definitely want to touch on topics like that.
What inspired that?
The book overall, or just?
Yeah, the book. Like, what was like, okay, this is what I want to talk about?
It just kind of all came together. I don't know if it was something that I just super consciously did like that. It just kind of came together like that. I was just wanting to write a book, and the idea just popped in my head one day. Like I know a few people that do. Okay, the basis of the book is it's a woman. She's a couponer. She's an extreme couponer. One of the people that buys all the stuff in the store. So when you go in the store, there's nothing left on the rack.
Right.
And then they take it home and they sell it at their houses in stockpile sales.
Yeah.
So she's one of these people. So she's living out in the her parents recently died. They left her a house. She's living out in the woods. So she's dropped out of school because she's kind of depressed over her parents, but she makes a living doing these stockpile sales. So she's about to have this huge stockpile sale, and bam, the zombie apocalypse hits. So she has all this stuff in her house basically to survive the zombie apocalypse, but she still has to fight against the zombies, or consumers, as I've called them. And also the people who know she has all this stuff in her house. Mm-hmm. So it just kind of came together because I'm a huge zombie movie fan. I'm a huge fan of that drama, and I'm a huge fan of the isolation.
Yes, genre. Those are fun.
I love movies where people are isolated and they just have to figure some way to get out.
Yeah, like Night of the Living Dead. Well, sort of, kind of that kind of vibe of the zombie. That's amazing.
Right. Even Night of the Living Dead, you know, they're just kind of stuck in a house. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of an amalgamation of all the stuff, all of the movies that I like. Like I kind of call it Night of the Living Dead meets Panic Room.
Ooh, that's a good one. That was a great film. That was a good film too.
That's what I kind of compare it to, but the black version, basically. So,
and I love, you know, I love it, and I hate that, you know, when it comes to the industry that we're in, that we have, when we push a movie like that, right? And it's like, you know, you see the tabloids, all black cast. It's like no one sees that when it says all white cast. You know what I mean? It's just a cast. So one day I do hope that we're kind of going in that direction where it's not like something that we have to do, but that we just do it and it's just a normal kind of thing. You know what I mean? Do you think the more people see it, the less, like, I don't know, of a big deal it is?
Normalize it'll be, right.
Yeah.
I think so. I think the more we get out there, like we have people helping out with it, like, you know, yourself, Jordan Peele, a lot of people that are putting us out there in the genre. So hopefully in a few years or coming soon, it'll be normalized, so we won't have to put that out there like that. It'll just be a thing that we can do, and it'll just be accepted.
Congratulations on that. Can't wait to.
I mean, it's not out yet. We kind of speaking it into existence, right? I mean, the universe is kind of lining up. Even this interview right here, like when you reached out to me, you had no idea that I had written a horror novel. You know?
No, not at all. And it just works out. It's perfect.
Right. Exactly.
I love that. Is there anything that you want to, like, you know, you said you love music, you love horror, you love, you know, writing. Is there anything that you kind of, your next thing that you want to move into? Like what's next on the horizon for you? What are you looking forward to doing or want to get into?
Possibly movies, I guess.
Ooh.
Like at the same time I took the magazine writing class my senior year, I also took a film class.
All right.
It was like a basically a 101, you know, basic film class. So we didn't really learn a whole lot, but we learned like the terminologies, and we watched a lot of movies, and we got the breakdown and stuff like that. So, and I've always been into, as a music fan, I've always been into music videos. So, and I've always been like, wow, if I did this, if I were to direct this music video, it would be like this. Or,
so you want to direct? Nice.
Possibly. I've started to write a script for the book. I haven't gotten too far yet. But I've started on the script for the book. Right. But I would definitely like to get involved in movies. I've been to the Walking Dead set.
Yes.
A few times. Like I have a friend named Conrad. He used to work on the Walking Dead set. Nice. So I've been up there a couple of times while they were filming. So that definitely kind of also put the battery in my back. But I mean, this is after I started writing the book. But that definitely kind of put the battery in my back to keep going with that. So, because I'm a big Walking Dead fan anyway. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, hey, congratulations on the new journey. And I'm just excited for you. What advice would you give to someone that wants to get into, you know, writing, journalism, like really want to get into this world? Like what does that look like?
It takes a lot of persistence. Like I said, when I first started out, I was sending so many emails and like not getting responses. So it's like kind of one of those things with, like with any other job, they want you to have experience kind of before they'll give you a chance to get experience.
Gotcha.
So you got to find a ways to get experience. Like I said, what I did with the woman who had the store, where I kind of fibbed to her a little bit and told her that I worked for the newspaper, and you know, ended up getting that story done. Worked. So different stuff like that. Like when I got into, how I really got into music journalism was, like I said, I moved to Atlanta in 2006. My parents were already down here. So like I said, it was really nothing to do in Virginia. So I moved to Atlanta, and I was just going to like Books A Millions and looking in the magazine rack and trying to find magazines. Like I knew I knew most of the magazines were in New York and LA.
Right.
But I kind of still figured that, you know, Atlanta was turning into pretty much a hot spot for music, and it was going to be something. So I found a magazine called Grip Magazine, and I ended up just finding the number in the magazine and calling the guy Emailing the guy. His name was Ali Early. He passed away earlier this year. Rest in peace to him. But he gave me my first chance in like music journalism. Wow. So I started interning at the magazine called Grip, and then I ended up working at that magazine called Grip. And
awesome.
they ended up folding, but I got a lot of experience at that magazine. I interviewed a lot of people. I interviewed 50 Cent, Idris Elba, 3 6 Mafia, UGK, Carrie Hilson, when she was very first starting to come out with music.
Yeah.
A whole lot of people, Gucci Mane. It was just a great experience. Like I picked Idris Elba up from his hotel in my car.
Nice.
You know what I'm saying? So it was
awesome.
It was a cool experience. But after that magazine folded, that's when I kind of started freelancing for XXL. Started freelancing for them and other magazines like Vibe, Slam magazine, Complex and stuff like that. So I ended up working for XXL on the weekends.
Nice.
Working their weekend staff, and now I work as their news editor full time.
Love it.
That's where we're at right now. I'm kind of working as a news editor for XXL. That's where I've been. That's the position I'm in. So yeah, it kind of takes a lot of persistence. It kind of takes a lot of time. Sometimes it takes a lot of knowing people. I think the saying that your network is your net worth is super important. Super important.
Definitely.
So getting out, talking to people, rubbing shoulders with the people who are in the know. You know, I'm like I said, I'm an introvert, so a lot of times I like to stay in the house. I don't go to events and stuff like that. But I swear every time I go out somewhere, something good happens, or I meet somebody that can, you know, we can help each other out mutually, or some type of situation like that. So definitely being persistent, definitely getting a good network of people who are in the positions that you want to be in will really help out.
I love that. That's so true. It's like whatever you want to become, you gotta, you know, hang out with that, you know, association brings a simulation, you know, essentially. So it's like, yeah, whatever you hang out with, you either become. Last question I ask every guest, so you could choose only one.
Okay.
There's no, you know, wrong answer. So it's either just one or the other. Okay. Loyalty or respect?
Okay, so I'm cheating a little bit because one of my favorite rappers, Pusha T, answered this exact question. He was asked this exact question in an interview about a month ago, and I really loved his answer. And he said that, I think his answer was respect. People can respect you from a distance. Loyalty is something that comes from somebody who's in your circle, from somebody who you know personally. So you can respect me from afar, but loyalty comes from somebody that's in my circle, that I know personally, that I have some kind of investment in, or who has an investment in me. So I would probably say loyalty.
I like that. It's a great answer. And that's from Drink Trends, right? That episode.
Right.
I love that show, by the way. Fantastic show. Such a brilliant idea. It's kind of like hot ones, but it's just better. I don't know, something about when they get really slizzard, what kind of questions come.
Right.
The answers is like, whoa. Thank you. Where can people find you on social media and follow you?
Definitely. My social media is Vernon _ Coleman. And like I just started a Instagram account for my book. It's called Consumption Book. So hopefully that'll be coming out soon. I've reached out to some literary agents, and hopefully I'll be hearing back from them. And if not, I will put this thing out by myself.
Hey, you know what I mean?
That will be it.
Do.
So yeah, that's where we're at with it right now.
It's gonna work out. It will. I have no doubt about that. Thank you again. It was lovely talking to you.
Thank you for having me. It was definitely a different experience being asked the questions. I'm used to asking people the questions, so being asked questions was kind of weird. But yeah, thank you.
You did fantastic.
I appreciate
it. And thank you guys for listening. And always remember to live, love, laugh.